Put down Dragon Quest Heroes Rocket Slime. It's Insert Credit Gaiden time. This is Insert Credit Gaiden, an avenue on your Insert Credit main street. To cap off this season of side stories, we have Brandon Sheffield sitting down in a noisy restaurant with John Linneman, friend of the show and retro specialist over at Digital Foundry. Here's Brandon with more.
As usual, during my trips to Japan, I bought a lot of games. Another person who bought a lot of games in Japan is John Linneman, and we conspired to have a show and tell while we were both still there. So we met up in Koenji at the Saizeriya. If you're not familiar, Saizeriya is a family diner with passable but incredibly cheap food and an all-you-can-drink non-alcoholic drink bar. They've caught on to the idea that mixing the drinks is a fun activity and even suggested some mocktails you could make, all of which we tried during our session. John was skeptical that this would be a good place to record. It was full of screaming kids with exasperated parents, teens saying yabai and datte-sa every other word, and a bunch of extremely tough-looking people who didn't say anything. But Saizeriya is the perfect place for just this reason. It has that bizarre energy of being the only place open after 9 p.m. that doesn't serve alcohol, which is perfect for a ridiculous effort like a discussion of video game obscurities. It also happens to recall episode 109, in which Tim and I did this very same thing in a Saizeriya across town. There are some flubs as a result of the venue. I do have to talk to the waitress in the middle as she informs us that we can pay our check anytime we want. Hint, hint, and we do eventually get kicked out. Kicked out is maybe a strong word to say when it's just the restaurant closed down, but it's a lot more fun to say it that way. Also, please forgive us for our errors when talking about some of these games. We were excited and going in blind on some pretty deep cuts because we had no idea what the other person was going to share. I might have possibly oversold Tokyo Insect Zoo. I may have called Panzer Bandit a run and gun because I always confuse it with Gunner's Heaven for some reason, which I can't really explain, but it's actually a brawler like Mad Stalker. I also later learned that the Space Channel 5 disc that I wind up talking about that I was confused about in there was a MIL CD. MIL CDs were an attempt by Sega to add multimedia content to compact discs, which the Dreamcast could then read. But there was no industry support, so only a few got made. This particular one comes with a couple music videos of somewhat higher than VCD quality. The Dreamcast's support of MIL CDs is part of what led folks to figure out how to run games on CDRs, incidentally, and they actually patched it out of later Dreamcasts. In all, I hope this gives you a bit of that festive feeling of discovering new treasures. It's incredibly rare to be able to have a conversation about such specific stuff and have the other party actually know what you're talking about, so we had a lot of fun with this. If you enjoyed this format, we might do another one, so let us know what you think. Enjoy. Hello. We're here in Saizeriya in Koenji. It's me and John Linneman is here as well.
That's right. I am here in Japan with you for the first time.
And we decided that we were going to talk about our various purchases that we made during the trip. And this is a good place to do it because Tim and I actually did something like this in a Saizeriya, like, right before the podcast ended the first time. And so it feels appropriate to resume doing this here.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's loud, there's lots of children screaming, and that's the correct atmosphere for this kind of stuff. So, do you want to say anything about yourself before we start?
Just in case. I am John Linneman from Digital Foundry. So we are a YouTube channel that does technical analysis of video games, and I often focus on retro via DF Retro. Give it a look.
He does good stuff. He's a friend of the show. He's been on the show before. You probably already knew who he was. I love the Saturn videos, but you know that already.
That's my thing. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Cool. So you can share. Let's see what you got first.
All right. I'm going to start with my first pick, and it's this.
Akira Psycho Ball for the PS2. That's a pinball game.
It is.
It's only one table, right?
That is right.
Yeah.
So.
And is it based on a real table? I actually wasn't sure.
I don't think so. So here's the thing. This is made by a company called Kaze, and they were well known for making their digital pinball series on the Sega Saturn.
Right.
And they did some awesome stuff.
So did they do Necronomicon?
They did Necronomicon.
With that amazing soundtrack?
Precisely. So they did those two games on Saturn. Then they actually did Power Rangers Pinball on PlayStation 1.
Oh, yeah?
And here's the thing, it's actually called Power Rangers in Japan as well. So,
allow me to show you a purchase that I made.
Oh my god.
It's Power Rangers Pinball for the PS1.
Let's just combine these two then. We've got Power Rangers Pinball, we've got Akira Psycho Ball. So, you know, these games are like, they create this awesome mood of playing virtual pinball where they kind of present the full table, right?
Yeah.
But they're nice and high res and just like, they feel great.
Yeah, they have this kind of like, I guess like maybe they are pre-rendered CG or something, because they have this interesting vibe to them. It's like you're playing, it's probably what playing pinball is like in the Resident Evil mansion.
Yes, exactly. So, I've always been a fan of digital pinball, and one of these days I would love to do a DF Retro on just like the history of digital pinball and kind of walk through those areas, because I think there's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of different paths that we're taking in that.
I mean, my favorite path in that zone is the fictional, like extra adventure-y pinball stuff, like Fantastic Pinball and Flipnik.
I would also say stuff like Devil Crash.
Devil's Crash, Alien Crash is what I was trying to think of.
Jackie Crash.
I even like... the Metroid Pinball is really good.
Oh, yeah.
Pokemon Pinball is good. I even like
Kirby.
Friggin' stupid Pinball Quest, even though it sucks.
Oh, yeah. Well, it sucks, but conceptually it's awesome.
Yeah, and that's all that matters to me.
Exactly. So, that kind of clears the first two games, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Why don't you go ahead and pick one of yours that's not pinball related?
Okay. Let's see if I even can. Okay, here's one.
Ah, yes.
Bought it for cheap. So this is Destruction Derby on the Saturn. So the Saturn version of Destruction Derby is a Japan exclusive.
It's also terrible. I also own it.
Yeah, I just had to... It's one of those things where, like... So I made a recent decision, which this does not support, which is that I was going to stop buying things because they were just interesting or just historically curious or whatever. Because then you wind up with way too much stuff, which I have. And so it was buying things like this that made me decide, okay, I should stop doing this, because this is my use case for getting a Mister. I can get a Mister, and then I can play all the weird... I mean, I know Saturn isn't perfect yet.
No.
But, I have a bunch of PS1 games that I did not include in my list here that... I didn't need to buy these.
I get you, but I still think things like this, for me personally, I do love to buy these sorts of interesting releases. First of all, because I can use them in videos. Yeah. But I just enjoy this stuff. And Destruction Derby is especially interesting because it's a Psygnosis game, right? Yeah. I guess it was actually Reflections developed, but, a Psygnosis thing, whatever. But this was after the acquisition by Sony. Right. And they released Destruction Derby, some Wipeout games, 3D Lemmings. Yeah. I think Crazy Yvonne as well is even on there. And they all run like at 20 frames per second. Yeah. And they look worse. Yeah. But gosh darn it, they're on the Saturn.
It's enough for me.
All right. I've got another one for you. I'm sure you've played this. I am a huge fan of it. It's super weird. It's
Pulirula. Pulirula is great. You got the arcade Gears version.
Yes, for the Sega Saturn.
For the Saturn.
Which is the better version.
Yes.
Of the two.
I like it. It's weird, and interestingly, my partner really liked it.
Really?
Because she, for some reason, was attracted to the bizarre graphical style.
That's what makes it so interesting, right? They're taking conflicting art styles, I would say, and combining it into this weird sort of like somewhat simplistic brawler. Mm-hmm. But you're just moving through these strange worlds, and you never know what's happening next. And you kind of imagine like traditional Pixar graphics combined with, say, like a large digitized woman. Yeah. In the scene, you're just like, what is this? Or the guy that's like on the flagpole, like flapping around like that, like it just keeps you on your toes, and you love it. It's great. And it's a solid game if you like stuff that's easy and uncomplicated, which frankly I do. It's a great pick up and play game, and it's one that I love to share with friends, right? It's a 2-player kind of experience where you could or just bring somebody in to play this game, and they have no idea what it is. And it's like, please play this game. And they always walk away just like in a daze, like, what did I just experience?
Yeah, it's nice when a game can give you any kind of feeling, and this one gives you one that you can't fully understand, and that's one of the coolest.
And that was Taito's MO back then, I feel. Like,
for sure.
To provide unique experiences that were memorable. And so yesterday I learned this expression called Surume game that Japanese, apparently, some developers like to say, where it's like, surume, like the octopus kind of thing, where it's like, it's chewy and difficult to enjoy initially, but the more you kind of crunch on it, the taste begins to come through, and you begin to understand better, like, what makes this special.
That's fun.
And I think Taito has a lot of games like this, where you initially pick them up, and they're just kind of like, yeah, this is interesting, but you're not really necessarily get it right away. But the more you play it, the more you come back to it, it grows on you. And I feel that way about a lot of Taito games.
Oh, me too. Something I learned from a Taito developer was that at a certain time, it didn't really matter what the content of your game was as long as it hit certain pitch points.
Yes.
And so the reason they were making just all this wild stuff that was just like off the wall and just where did it even come from is because they were trying to hit these certain somewhat arbitrary points that were not related to gameplay or business plans or trends or anything. It was just like, it was more like the moon is in Taurus kind of metrics to use, which worked great.
It absolutely did. It
totally worked.
Especially for these arcade games. You just walk into an arcade, you see it on the floor, and you're drawn to it. Mm-hmm. It has an energy.
I love that stuff.
But let's move on to the next game.
All right, here's my next one. I've been looking for it for a while.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
Oh,
you got that one too?
No, but I want... So it's Panzer Bandit,
Panzer Bandit.
I saw this today at Friends.
Yeah, too much there.
It was way
How
too
much was it at Friends again? It was like
28,000.
28,000?
Something like that. I was just like...
You know how much this one was?
How much?
15.
Okay, well,
yep.
You did it. That is a deal.
This is why I went out to Fukiage.
Yeah.
Out in Saitama to go to the Surugaya out there because that's what the prices were out there. They were like basically half of Akiba.
I saw you posting these things, and I was very tempted to do that, but as you said, it's pretty far, and you need the time to actually get out there. But man, I will say though, even with the rather nasty prices that you find in like Akiba and other places, although they get a little bit better outside of there, the exchange rate right now is so in our favor.
It is.
The buying power is ridiculous.
I saw them. I mean, basically, I was looking at things and realizing that they were cheaper on eBay, even after the exchange rate.
I'm familiar enough with the prices on the stuff I bought that I mostly avoided that, except for one, which I'll explain.
Okay.
But yes,
sometimes it's just like you see it and it's like,
it feels like they're accounting for that in many cases. But yes, Akiba prices in general are pretty bad right now.
So Panzer Bandit is.
We didn't talk about the game.
No, we didn't talk about the game. It's cool run and gun type thing. I forget if it's Fill-In Cafe or not.
I don't remember.
I forget who develops it.
It really stands out for it's one of the games that uses really nice 2D sprite work with 3D backgrounds.
Yeah, and nice explosions and effects and stuff. It's just one of those games where you see it and you're like, oh, I'll play that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very
crunchy.
It's a very insert credit kind of game. It's also very imperfect, which also fills the insert credit brief. So,
indeed.
All right, let's get one of yours going.
All right, let's get another one in here. Bring this back up now. We're going to move into slightly less exciting territory for a moment here. Sort of. Because it was super cheap and I'm collecting these. It's Gun Survivor 3, Dino Crisis.
Man, I keep thinking about how I want this, but I don't have a PS2 gun. I need to get like a GunCon 2 or whatever.
I have a GunCon 2. And
I almost bought one here because it was 800 yen.
Oh my goodness. But it's so worth it.
But it was in the junk bin, and I knew I was going to have to take it through customs.
Right.
And if they thought it was like an airsoft gun, I would get in trouble.
This has happened before. My good friend Audie Surley, who sometimes is on Digital Foundry as well, he attempted to bring a Philips CDI light gun from Norway to Germany, and the security was not fond of that because it looks like a revolver.
Right.
I think it's blue.
Yeah.
But they were confused, and when he tried to explain what it was, they were like, "What is the Philips CDI?"
Yeah.
And they basically took it from him.
Wow. So, wait, in Holland?
Yeah, in Norway.
Oh, in Norway. Okay. So,
well, actually, he flew, I think, from Norway into... No, I guess maybe it was just in Norway. Either way, they kept it. He was able to get it back when he went back home, but he was not allowed to bring it on the plane.
I see.
Which is a bummer.
Yeah.
But anyway, Gun Survivor 3, Dino Crisis.
I mean, Dino Crisis is great and super underrated, so...
Yeah, it definitely does not suck. It is a great game.
Yeah.
Gun Survivor 3, though, this whole Gun Survivor series, it's very strange, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, what if we do Resident Evil but light guns, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, though. Like, I think the fourth one, Gun Survivor 4, the one on the boat.
I never played it.
So, the way that works... and I guess we're getting off this, though.
That's
like, you have a D-pad on the back of the gun con too, right?
Right.
You actually control your character with the D-pad.
Yeah.
D-pad. You're running around in a third-person view, kind of like Resident Evil 4, but then you pull the trigger to enter gun mode, and the camera zooms into first person, and now it's a light gun game, right? So, like, it's a normal 3D action game that turns into a light gun shooter whenever you engage in combat, and you can still move with the D-pad even in first person.
Right.
So it's like a real attempt to evolve the light gun shooter.
Yeah, it's basically a Wii game at that point.
It is before the Wii, I suppose, or around the same time.
Around the same time, yeah.
Gun Survivor 3 is not quite that, but it is still fully 3D, and it's better than the second one, which was the Code Veronica adaptation, with Namco involved, and it's completely terrible.
Yeah, and this has that lovely Shinkiro art as well,
which I love. And he also did, I think, art for PsyOps. You've seen that? The American-developed Midway game, PsyOps, I believe he did the Japanese cover for it.
Did Capcom publish it here?
I don't remember. They might have. I think Capcom published it,
Yeah, because, and it's funny because people like me who are old think of Shinkiro primarily as an SNK dev.
Yeah.
But he's been with Capcom like 2 or 3 times as long as he was at...
It is Capcom.
Yeah.
That's the art.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah, it's very good.
That's great, right?
It's good art. Very good art.
All right, but let's move on to the next one.
Okay, next one is 2, because I got Namco Anthology 1 and 2.
I have so much to say about these.
So they're really interesting. They have a bunch of games on them, and the reason that they're more interesting than the Namco Museum titles is because each game has a remake.
That's right.
And so we got Star Luster, Babel, Wrestleball on one, Valkyrie Densetsu, which is the one I really wanted.
See, that's the one. That's the best one right there.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
They completely redid all the graphics.
Super good.
Detailed, pixel art now. And it's just... this
and is Wrestleball in 3D on the first one? I think it is.
I think it is now as well.
Interested.
But you're right. So this collection sort of assembles not so much like their typical arcade games, but like games that they released on other formats. And it kind of refreshes them in an interesting way. And weirdly enough, I feel like not much was, I guess in the West especially, nobody really talked about these. They didn't come out in the West. It was Japan only.
Yeah.
But
I only found out about them like 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah. No, these are... I only found out about them when I was building my complete Namco collection.
Well, there you go.
I determined that I must have every single Japanese developed or Japanese version of every Namco game for PS1 and PS2.
Oh wow!
And I'm almost there.
That's a very serious undertaking.
These are part of them.
Yeah. And speaking of friends in Akihabara, so I wound up buying Namco Anthology 2 for about 5,800 yen, which was fine. Because it's way more expensive elsewhere.
It's expensive.
But I was going back through my photos and saw that I took a picture at Friends of Namco Anthology 2 for the same price, but with the Obi, and this one doesn't have it. And theirs was actually in better shape, so I should have bought it there. But you know, hindsight
2020. Okay, that's pretty good, though. Those are excellent. All right, my turn. Lethal Enforcers.
Yeah, speaking of light
Deluxe
guns.
Pack. So, I don't know if people remember this, but yeah, there was the gun con for the PlayStation, right? That was the preferred light gun.
Yeah.
But Konami also released
The
light gun.
Enforcer was also there.
It was called
Oh wait, theirs was
the Hyper Blaster.
right because the Enforcer was on the.
You're almost
Genesis.
right. So basically what it is in Japan and Europe, the Hyper Blaster exists. In America, I believe, there's a green version called the Enforcer.
Yeah.
That has the same name, but it's a different...
Or I think it was blue, but, well...
I think it's... No,
on
the
Genesis one is
blue.
Yeah, okay.
The PlayStation one is green. It's like neon green. But anyway, Lethal Enforcers was obviously huge during the Genesis Super NES era, right?
Yeah.
And it's a pretty fun light gun game, I think. Like, you know, it has its flaws, but this is like pre-Time Crisis, pre-Virtua Cop, right?
Yeah.
Still 2D. It's not Mad Dog McCree with the video stuff. It's actual, like, real levels and, like, sprite work. But those consoles could never do it justice. So Konami, with their Deluxe Pack line, which they did for many other games, like Gradius, for instance, they released Lethal Enforcers 1 and 2 for PlayStation in basically, I think, arcade perfect or close to it. I need to refresh my memory by playing it again to see for sure, but it's just another game that you can enjoy with the Hyper Blaster, because I had been recently playing another underappreciated gem, Henry Explorers.
Henry Explorers, a.k.a. what's it, a.k.a.?
Crypt Killer. Which, you know, people don't seem to like that game, but I think it is fantastic.
It's got branching paths, multiple endings. I mean, what do you want? And it's called Henry Explorers.
Henry Explorers. Fantastic game.
But people don't like it? What's wrong with them?
Exactly. So that was another pickup I got.
That's a hot one. Okay, here's a very quick one.
Right.
It's Vib-Ribbon. I already owned Vib-Ribbon, but I for whatever reason I only had it disc only.
Oh.
And I knew I was gonna go meet Masaya Matsura and hang out with him for a bit, and so I saw this and I was like, you know, I should have it complete, and that's it. So I'll just tell you a little bit that, I mean, this comes up in the podcast where I interview him, but I don't know if other people were surprised, but I was surprised to learn that he didn't write most of the music for Vib-Ribbon.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it was primarily a band that he like produced or whatever, but he was telling me that he spent a really long time working on the tutorial. So he did the music for the tutorial of Vib-Ribbon because that's the part that, like, it tells you how to play, it gives you the vibe, it shows everything that happens. It has to have like the certain exact timing and stuff. So I don't know. It's an interesting project. Another quick one I'll mention is Alnam no Tsubasa.
Oh yeah.
So Alnam no Tsubasa is the sequel to Alnam no Kiba, which is on the PC Engine and is a RPG that I enjoy. It's one of the later releases from Right Stuff before they disappeared into the ether. And it's just such a weird game, and they tried to move to the PlayStation, and it's got like a field of view of like 2 inches. But it's got a really interesting look. Like they sort of tried to do side-scrolling and vertical scrolling simultaneously, and it is 3D, but like you can't see into the horizon at all. You can really only see in other directions. It's
how strange.
It's a weird one.
I have not played this. I need to check this out.
Well,
just to see what it's about.
Yeah, just look at it, I guess. You don't need to actually play it.
All right. So another one I picked up is a very strange sort of racing game, and I specifically selected it because the title has always baffled me, and I believe this. Can you confirm this? It's Hresvelgr.
Yes, I have this as well.
And I always love
so slowly,
and I love the katakana version here, where it's like Hresvelgr.
Yeah,
when you see that on the spine, like your brain is like trying to comprehend, like, what does this mean?
It shuts my brain down every time when I look at that, and then when I look at the Roman characters, I'm even more confused.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's the Roman characters are Hresvelgr.
I love this. So it's one of those games that kind of stuck in my brain for years because of the title alone.
Yeah.
And when you see it for, 528 yen, I'm just like, whatever. So I tossed it in the basket, and here it is.
And it has a nice cover. Sometimes you just have to absorb a title like that. But this is exactly what I'm talking about what I shouldn't buy anymore. Okay,
I'm very guilty of this.
Speaking of those kinds of things, this is Afterburner 3 on the Sega CD. So Afterburner 3 basically only exists on the Sega CD. Because it's a port of a sequel to G-Lock, I think.
That's right.
And they just rebranded it Afterburner 3.
They called it Afterburner 3.
They didn't bring it to the US, and I don't think it's very good, but
you
did it. I like the Sega CD.
I love it too.
And the thing that made me convince myself, okay, you can buy this, is that it's using the super scaling effects that the Sega CD was actually quite good at.
That's true, yeah. Like the core design games as well. They did a good job at that.
Oh, absolutely. They did the best job at that.
Okay, next one.
Yeah.
This is one I actually haven't played yet, but I've been fascinated by it, and I think it's going to be very strange, but the soundtrack sold me on it.
Okay.
It's Heavy Metal Thunder.
Heavy Metal Thunder, yeah. Yes. So I keep forgetting if that is based on an anime or another something. I think it
might be.
I think it is, but I can't remember. I know it's at least somehow cross-media, and it's also one of those ones that I see in the store, and I'm like, I should probably buy this. But isn't it like it's
like a menu-based, like, weird wrestling fighting game with a lot of story stuff in it. It looks very weird.
It's menu-based, and I think it's like no free movement. It's very, very on rails in a weird way.
But like looking at it in motion, just based on what I've seen and the soundtrack alone, it's kind of got that hype thing going for it, where you're just like, what they're showing just looks cool.
Yeah.
And your brain is just like, I enjoy watching this.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need to be, like, this is a case of a game that's probably not very good, engaging from a gameplay perspective, but it just looks nice. And it sounds good. So it's like an ear massage and an eye, it's great. So it was cheap enough where I was like, you know what, today's the day.
I support it. I support it. We just had our Saizeriya dishes taken away.
It is clean now.
Okay, here's my next one.
Oh.
Zeiram Zone. Okay, I didn't know this game existed until...
I've never heard of this.
Until I saw it in the store. And so I have recently been watching the Zeiram movies. So if you don't know, there are some tokusatsu movies about a character named Iria, who had her own anime as well later, who keeps fighting this giant evil creature called Zeiram, who they find ways to bring back. And my buddy, a while ago, when he saw that I was getting all the Zeiram stuff, he was like, oh, and you can also play the really crappy Super Nintendo game. And so I looked at the crappy Super Nintendo game, and I was like, oh, it's too crappy. I actually don't want it.
Too much.
It's like, she uses all these cool weapons in the movies. In the game, she has like a crappy kick.
Oh, no.
And that's all. So he neglected to mention the crappy PlayStation 1 game that I could get. And this crappy PlayStation 1 game, well, actually, I don't even know if it's crappy.
You don't know, you haven't played
is.
it yet.
But it's a fighting game, 3D fighting game. And,
it's going to be bad.
Yeah, it's going to be bad, but there's just, had to do it. So I got it. And it has a nice cover. I like it.
That's been the partial theme of the evening, I think, is like, you had to do it.
Yeah.
You see it, it's going to happen.
That's right.
All right. We'll move on to the next one then. And this one I actually saw for... I can't remember the exact price, but it was shockingly low compared to everything I'd seen. The normal price for this. It's Tempo for 32X.
Check it out, he keeps it funky, and he's good to go. Woo! Anyway.
All right, so you're familiar with
Tempo. I hear that he's in the house tonight.
He is indeed, and
where is that a sight?
It's the Super 32X version.
Super 32X version, which means it's the Japanese version for the 32X. Oh yeah, if people don't know Tempo, he's a completely failed mascot character from Sega.
They made 2 games based on Tempo.
Yeah, 32X and Game Gear.
They made 3 games.
Three, yeah, because there's a Saturn one.
There's a Saturn game, Super Tempo.
Super Tempo, which is one that I have been looking for and have just never seen. I've never seen it
before. I have Tri-Rush Deppy, which is like the one I always associate with like being a similarly uncommon kind of thing. Yeah. But I see that a lot more often than I see Super Tempo.
I feel like Tri-Rush Deppy may have been somehow artificially inflated because you see it all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the deal
Pretty
with
common.
that?
Yeah. Like, why is it so expensive?
I don't know.
I got it like 20 years ago in a lot, like with a bunch of garbage.
Nice.
It was just in there. I'm happy about that. So.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Well,
but Tempo is a crazy platform game with like honestly gorgeous visuals for the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 32x game, of course, so it's got some pretty cool looking animation, nice colors, and it actually plays rather competently.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's one of the better 32x games, and honestly 32x as a whole I think is somewhat underrated. It's limited by its small library, but when you actually look at what came out for it, I think it's significantly better than something like, say, the Atari Jaguar, which I also love. I love the Jag, but
don't worry, you're talking to the other person that loves the Jaguar.
All right.
But yeah, I totally agree, and I also like the extra crunchy samples in the music. So it's just like really
super low bit rate, but it's just got a crunch. It feels great.
Yeah, it's really good. It's like that. It's like that meme. What's his name in American Psycho?
Right.
You know, that man who's a famous man.
That man.
Where he's pointing at the stereo and going ooh, and the meme is like FM synthesis fan playing you the worst sound you've ever heard. Every time I see that, I'm like, that's me.
Yes.
Like, whenever I'm listening to like the Sonic Spinball soundtrack, I'm like, here we go.
Dude, I love the fact that somebody made the vinyl record version of Sonic Spinball because, like,
I bought it.
Does it have the options menu song on it?
You know it. The best song of all time.
When you like, that's my favorite thing. You put that on.
It's just like, wow. It's a Sonic Assault. Speaking of which, did you know, I found this out very recently, Sega CD, there was a release of Cosmic Fantasy on Sega CD.
Yes.
So Cosmic Fantasy is like
two, right? Or was it just one?
I thought it was just, maybe it's 1 and 2. I think it is 1 and 2. Cosmic Fantasy is a mediocre RPG from Nihon Telnet, originally on the PC Engine.
Yep.
And then they did a Sega CD port, and they added a new intro. And if you ever listen to the new intro, it sounds like absolute garbage. And they used the Sega CD sound chip,
the Rico chip,
to make this, and it just sounds so awful. And I found out from somebody who was like decompiling it that it was because, I forget exactly what it was, but they used like the wrong protocol or something for compression.
Okay.
And if you look at the original source file, it sounds totally fine.
So it's just an error.
It's just an error.
Dang.
So there you go.
All right. That's a shame that never got patched.
Yeah, they should have patched that. All right, here's my next one.
All right.
Been looking for this for a while.
Community Palm.
Community Palm. Are you familiar?
I mean, I'm familiar with Palm as parallax occlusion mapping, but I'm not familiar in this sense.
Well, let me read to you what it's all about, according to the front of the game. It says, "I'm growing them up a whole bunch. I decided to go on a long trip to find, in quotes, Palm. I'm gonna say so to Grandpa and go. Palm, a curious animal that we don't see much. I don't know where they are. I don't know what they eat. This very shy animal is Palm, but many people dislike them lately."
Brandon, I think an idea for you would be for a new episode of Insert Credit, track down the man that wrote that.
That would be great.
I want to know where this came from.
Yeah, so Community Palm, it's a really neat looking top-down, kind of tilted view, maybe
Is it isometric?
Not isometric, but it's like 3/4.
Okay,
kind of
3/4 style.
Action RPG with nice big effects, coming from Fill-In Cafe of Oscar 120%, Mad Stalker, etc. And it's just one of those games that...
Wait, did Keishi Onao do the music?
I actually don't know, but I would hope so.
I would hope so.
I would hope so. So, you know, if I see Fill-In Cafe, I have to get it. And that's what I did.
I will now have to search for this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I happened to find it at a price that was about half of what the internet price was.
Yes, based on the price I'm seeing on your screen right now, yeah. This is a spicy meatball.
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually quite expensive because, unfortunately, when people know that it's good and it's an action game, it gets very expensive.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yep.
All right, another one here, and this is something I just had to pick up because I like big boxes, PC big boxes.
Oh yeah.
It's E6, the Ark of Napishtim.
Yeah.
And this one is a very important game to me because this was one of the first games that I really tried to play through in Japanese when I was first studying this stuff. And it was mostly incomprehensible at the time. But the action, I knew E's from the old days, but at that point I was only really familiar with the PC Engine E's, the TurboGrafx 16 version.
Yes. Edo!
Yes. But this is the game that kind of pushed me to become a big fan of the series, actually. And this is not the best one, I would say, by any means, but it was sort of like the thing that kicked it off in my memory. Like, I remember that. I like this type of game, and it sent me down the road of picking up all the other Ys games.
Nice.
And but I never actually had this big box DVD version. And when you see it for like 1,500 yen, even though it's big, and I'm thinking luggage space,
which is like €3 to you at this point.
Yeah, it's like €3. It's nothing. But it was in pristine condition. They even came with like the pre-order box underneath it and everything,
nice.
like the bonus stuff.
Yeah.
I had to have it. And I do actually have a vintage PC designed to play games like this in their original form. So I would love to play it again.
I'm about to go down that route, and the way I'm going down it is I didn't get rid of my PC from college.
Okay.
And so I'm
That's a pretty good route.
So I'm gonna fix it, and then that'll be it.
That's the way to do it, man.
Yeah,
Just install Japanese Windows on there, and like you're full of goodness. There's so much tighter stuff on there as well.
Yeah.
Like it's just awesome.
Yeah, Windows 95, 98 is there's a lot of cool stuff. So if you can do that and 2000, you're in business.
Also, real quick as a side note, I picked up the Switch port of Oath and Felghana.
Nice.
This is actually my favorite classic Ys style game. Second favorite actually being Ys 4, the Dawn of Ys on PC Engine.
That's a hot one.
I really love. I love that game.
Yeah.
But this one, I have the Windows version and the PSP version already, and I've played it a lot, but I wanted to play it again. And the Switch version turns out it's really good. So if you're actually interested in this, you like Ys, 60 frames per second, native resolution of the screen, really sharp texture filtering. It's like an excellent version of Ys Oath and Felghana, and I do recommend it.
I wonder if Falcom did the port themselves. I think they mostly do this these days,
I think they did, and I also think this one, I don't believe this has received a Western release either, so it's Japanese only for now as far as I know.
Yeah.
But if you're okay with reading through Japanese games, and you like Ys, and anybody that likes Ys probably can do that anyway.
Yeah.
Do check it out.
Nice. Alright, here's my next one.
Alright. Yes. Oh my god.
Demolition Man on the 3DO.
Dude,
this game is stupid.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's just like side-scrolling and into the screen. And
it's into the screen. It's like driving stuff, kind of. I think
there's
like
some side-scrolling parts too,
There's
right?
side-scrolling parts. There's fighting game parts.
Yeah.
It's all digitized actors.
They tried to do everything they could do.
I believe they filmed new sequences.
Yeah.
But they're not. Well, no, they're awesome actually. What am I saying here?
Of course they're awesome. And so this did come out in the US, but
in long box.
In long box, but I just don't want to collect long box stuff because it's a pain in the butt, and so I bought the Japanese version because it's nice and compact, and they're still going to be speaking English anyway.
That's right.
So and I thought it might be funny to see if they're subtitled.
What do they mean by SF action movie? Like, what is SF?
Science fiction.
Oh, science fiction action movie.
Yeah.
3DO de Yo-Yo Tojo.
That's right.
Yeah.
Finally
on the 3DO.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't realize they released a Japanese version of this game in 3DO. I'm a little bit curious as to why.
Well,
I mean, the 3DO was reasonably successul here, but like Demolition Man?
I don't know. I think it was just they needed content. Maybe like who was it? Panasonic was giving out money.
Yeah.
At that time, I don't know. Could be anything. But
the good news here is that apparently the disc is in A condition.
Yeah.
So it's pristine.
So thank goodness for that. Okay,
next game. I've collected nearly everything that I really want on the Mega Drive, but I occasionally pick up a straggler, sometimes cheap, although there are a few very expensive ones I'd like that I don't have, like Battlemania Daiginjo.
Which of course we will never ever own.
Nope. But I got this instead.
It's Crackdown.
It's Crackdown. And this is a Sega arcade game.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it never clicked before, but I was playing this on my Mister recently. And I realized that, you know what? This game's actually pretty good.
Didn't that have the nice Luciferous US version?
Oh, it may have, actually.
Yeah, I believe the cover has Satan on it for the US version.
Wonderful.
It's very bizarre.
That is. It's basically a top-down sort of action game with the screen sort of zoomed out.
Yeah.
So you kind of get this bird's eye view of the action, but it's kind of like strategic action, I would describe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And a bunch of the screen is taken up by UI and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually what turned me off of it initially.
Me too.
Until I finally sat down to play it. This was also the year that I got really into Alien Syndrome from Sega.
Nice.
I've been playing the arcade version of that like crazy, and I can finally, after like months, I can 1cc it now.
Oh wow.
It's hard, but it's there. I had such a great time learning it. And I was looking for another Sega game that I missed out on that was perhaps a little different, and Crackdown caught my interest.
Nice.
And here it is.
Have you gotten deep into Game Ground at all? Because that would be a really cool one to
I
go
love
for.
Game Ground. Yes, that is kind of a
and each version is kind of
Tsurume game. I would say because when you first play it, feels slow and kind of not great.
Slow and clunky, and it is slow and clunky, but it's intentionally slow and clunky.
It's intentional. Yes, there's a lot of fun to be had there, especially in multiplayer.
And I love finding the new characters and then being like, okay, this guy, I got to keep this guy, but then I use him and then he dies.
Oh man,
it's good stuff.
That's good stuff. So yeah, Crackdown. Not the Xbox one. It's the original.
Yeah.
All right, what's next on your list?
Next on mine, this will be also quick. This is
Sōkyūgurentai.
Sōkyūgurentai, which I have always owned on Saturn since time immemorial.
Same.
But the PlayStation version has another ship and an extra stage.
What? Oh no! You just did the thing where you say the thing and you're like, now I have to get this too.
That's right. And it was put out by Major Wave, who was like a budget publisher of a bunch of heckin' nonsense.
He got promoted. Mr. Wave got promoted to Major.
That's right.
All right.
So that's it. Sōkyūgurentai is great, and now there's one on PlayStation. And is it as good? Probably not, but it has 2 extra things.
I need to check that actually. One thing I know is that it's got an excellent Sakimoto soundtrack.
Absolutely.
And that combined with the pseudo 3D backgrounds, it always felt like this weird, dark, twisted version of Radiant Silvergun.
There's some real 3D in there.
Yeah.
When you go over buildings and stuff. Yeah. So it was an STV game. So it makes sense for it to
video.
Yeah. So it makes sense for it to come to Saturn, but the PlayStation version. So that would actually be an interesting one for you to compare because something coming from STV hardware to Saturn, to PlayStation is unusual.
I've been interested in doing some smaller DF Retro episodes again because I've been spending all this time on these gigantic ones.
Yeah.
And that might be a fun topic to go down. But anyway, next one. Okay, this is the one where I overpaid for sure. I get it. But this is a game I really like. And I wanted to actually own it for real. And it's
Soldier Blade.
Soldier Blade for PC Engine.
So Soldier Blade for PC Engine is great. I've also been looking for it, but I didn't buy it. And here's why. Here's where it's a little weird. And this is where the kind of the brain virus comes in.
Go for it.
I have owned Soldier Blade since I was 16, 15 or 16. Hue card only.
Oh.
And so because I've always owned it and it's logged in my brain as you own this, I never bought the full package. By the time I was like, you know what, I should have this, then it was $300 or whatever.
Yeah, that went up real fast.
It really went up. Even just, I don't know, 5 years ago, it was like $50 or
more
something.
reasonable. Yeah, it just went flying
But
upward.
it's such a good game.
It's so good. The music is among the best on PC Engine, and that's saying something. It's really good.
The visuals on their Hue card.
Yeah.
So the Hue card visuals are also some of the best. Like, it runs at blazing speed. It has all this really expert color usage and like the clouds being rendered. They're all huge. It's just like,
when you see this
really
game,
impressive.
you would never guess that the PC Engine was like a little 8-bit system.
Little 8-bit bro.
Because it's an absolute powerhouse. I think this looks and runs better than pretty much every shooter that I can think of on like Super NES.
For sure.
And it sounds better too. It's just awesome.
Yeah, it rolls.
And your story is interesting because my good friend Thomas also has, I believe, a Japanese Hue card version paired with an American version manual in a fake back case.
Right.
And because of that, he's always been in this situation of like, well, I want the whole thing, but like, what is it? So it's...
Yeah.
It seems somehow people ended up with weird versions of Soldier Blade.
It's funny when you cobble things together. Like, sometime recently, not that this game is impressive, but I have Impossible Hue card only on the TurboGrafx. Not a good game, but I only had the Hue card, and then I was at a game store, and they had a TurboGrafx game in the wrong box. They had like some other game in an Impossible box with no manual. So I was like, can I just buy that box from you?
Okay.
And they just gave it to me. So now I have Impossible with box, no manual. And so I'm working my way up.
That is interesting.
Yeah. All right, my turn.
Go for it.
Let's go back to the PC Engine.
Oh my god, it's Double Dragon 2 The Revenge for PC Engine.
Yeah, so I finally got Double Dragon 2 The Revenge. This was actually what sent me out to that Fukiage place.
Yeah.
Because Surugaya has, if you're looking for something on their website, they'll tell you if they also have it at a store.
Yes.
And so I clicked on this and I found Double Dragon 2 for 1,500 yen. Oh, sorry, 15,000 yen, which was cheaper than in every store in Akiba. But then when I went to the actual store, it was 12,800 yen.
Dude.
It was less than advertised on the website. So, but yeah, I found out about the store because I clicked on it and they were like, it's at this store. I was like, oh man, it's far, but I can get there. But the reason I bought it is because of the soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack is fantastic.
If you've never listened to the Double Dragon 2 The Revenge soundtrack for the PC Engine, please do. I think I've mentioned it about 15 times on this show. But very scream heavy, a lot of weird samples. It's just like somebody was having a fun time. They discovered samplers.
CD music. Oh, sample. Yeah. CD music was such a... Red Book audio was such a weird time for this stuff.
People were figuring out what to do.
I love... have you played Ane-san on the PC Engine?
Oh, yeah.
With its crazy rockabilly
all
soundtrack?
of its dumb rockabilly, yeah.
That's something else.
Well, they did that for PC Denjin as well on the CD version.
Which is kind of a step down from the Hue card version, I would say.
It is. I don't like it as much, and in fact, I don't own it because of that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I only have the Hue card.
I only have the Hue card version.
I will say though, I noticed they are advertising that it's a 2-player game right on the cover.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if that's a reaction to the fact that the original Famicom NES game, or was it just NES, was 1-player only, and then it's like, hey, you can actually play this with 2 people. Although the PC Engine only has 1 controller port, so get a multi-tap out.
Yeah, exactly. Give us more money. Okay, your turn.
All right. Next one. Your selection of Sōkyūgurentai actually kind of inspires this. It's Thunder Force 5 for PlayStation.
Perfect system.
So this is a case of the Saturn version. It's better. It was made for Saturn.
Yeah.
The visuals are better on Saturn. It's the way to play it. But this was reasonably priced, and I'm fascinated by this conversion. Mm-hmm. And it's also the #1 shooting. So I had
as it says on the Obi, the #1 shooting.
But this is a game I wouldn't mind comparing at some point against Saturn.
Yeah,
I think
I'd be interested to see
it's one of those games that makes really interesting use of VDP2 on Saturn to make these cool multi-layer backgrounds.
Right.
So they had to basically find a completely different way to do it on PlayStation.
And they didn't quite.
No, they didn't quite nail it.
In some arenas, they didn't quite get it.
No, but still.
But it's neat, and it has that first stage music, which you just can't beat. Can't beat stage 1 music.
Honestly, the music in Thunder Force 5 in general is just phenomenal. And everything that the composer did at that time was great. Like, Hyperduel sounds great.
Last
Wind sounds great.
Last Wind sounds great.
All those games, man.
I actually own both of those.
I only have Hyperduel, not Blast Wind.
Well, luckily, Hyperduel is still the more expensive
That's
of the
true.
two. So
I will get Blast Wind at some point, if I get lucky. Maybe if we go out to that shop, we'll find it. But it wasn't there, was it?
It wasn't there. Sorry.
All right, well, what's your next one then?
It is...
Kurohyō
2.
Yuga Gotoku. No, it's the side story for PSP, the sequel.
Yeah, so it's the second Ryuga Gotoku Yakuza for PSP. The first one...
These are cool.
...was interesting. The second one is interesting. They do... the first one... I forget if it was the first or the second one. One of them does a thing where they have pre-rendered backgrounds until you get into the action.
The battles,
Until you get into the battles. And I think the other one is full 3D, but I can't remember.
The original might be the pre-rendered one. But it's been a long time since I played them.
It might also go the other... Oh, I've been trying to think of any other games, and maybe it's this, where the first one was full 3D and the second one was pre-rendered, aside from Dino Crisis.
Oh man, that's a tough one.
Because Dino Crisis did it, and I was like, did anyone ever do this ever? Did anyone else do this? But it feels like...
From 3D to 2D?
Yeah.
No. I mean, the inverse, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But that...
yeah, let's keep racking our brains.
I gotta think about that one.
All right.
That's a trouble... That's a tricky one. I have to do a little sidebar because I think it's great, but Square released this game back in the day.
Oh yeah, the O story.
Yeah, so in Nordic languages, you pronounce this character as like
So they decided that means love.
If you're in Norway or Sweden or something, you would read that as story.
Story.
Which I've always found humorous.
Yes.
And but even at what is it here? It's like
we should describe that it's basically a 0 with a diagonal line through it.
Although
right in front
apparently
of
means love story.
Apparently means love.
That's what the character says.
Yeah.
But actually, I do have another game on the list. As I scroll up, here it is. Why not? If I can zoom in here, it's Kunoichi, the sequel to Shinobi.
Kunoichi. So you don't have the US version?
No, I don't.
You don't?
I have the US version of the original Shinobi.
Right.
That was done by Overworks.
Yeah.
But I never picked up the sequel, and I saw it there for
400 yen.
400 yen.
Yeah.
And Thomas,
it's Sega WoW.
My friend Thomas actually pulled it off the shelf, and he holds it up to my face, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, I will take this. And I did take it.
The tech for
the cape.
The cape.
Or the headdress
thingy.
The scarf thing.
It's very impressive.
That looked really cool. Like, the visuals aren't necessarily amazing, but it's got this really fluid, like, interesting look.
It's got a style.
It feels cool to play it.
Yeah.
You feel cool when you play it.
Yeah,
so,
if you do it right.
I'm eager to actually give this one a shot, because this is the one I've not played. Although, I don't expect it to be as good as Bujingai with Gact, because I freaking love that game.
No, you can't beat Bujingai. I forced it into our top 5 of the top 20 PS2 games of all time.
Wow, I salute you, sir, because that is... I still think Bujingai has one of the best introductions ever, like, where it's just like, logo, you're just playing.
Yeah.
And you just get this, like, drum beat in the background, and you're just, like, going along, and then eventually...
Yeah, it's like, guess what, you can run on the walls, guess what, you can knock down all these neon signs.
What is going on? What is going on? And then they show you what you just did from cinematic angles, and, like, the Zuntata music kicks in.
Yeah.
It's got all the credits, you're playing as Gact, you got, like, all it's just...
Yeah, it gives you, like, the Ridge Racer replay.
Yes.
Taito version.
It's so freaking good, man. That game. But anyway, what's your next game?
My next game is the sequel to Biomotor Unitron on the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Right.
And I kept forgetting that there was a sequel.
I also forgot this.
And as such, I never bought it until now, and now I have. And Biomotor Unitron was one of their attempts at doing a Pokemon-ish thing.
Yeah.
And this one
with robots,
and you collect different pieces and you put them together and you fight them and and it's got a really nice cover. So I just I got it, and I don't know if this was Yume Kobo's last game or one of their last games, but
I saw the logo up there and I'm like, man, I haven't seen that for a while.
Yeah.
It feels like they've been gone.
Yume Kobo basically lived and died on the Neo Geo Pocket.
It's such a shame.
It is.
Oh man, I love the Neo Geo Pocket.
Me too. It's my friend.
It's such a great little machine.
I'm not boy, as it says. You got any more?
Of course I do.
Let's see them.
All right, let's just go through them in order now for what's left. First up is Silent Line Armored Core 3.
Nice.
Which somehow I didn't have. I like Armored Core,
yeah.
but I never actually picked up Armored Core 3, and I feel like that was a mistake.
It has one of the nicer covers, I would say.
Yeah, it's very stylish looking.
One big robot with one big eyeball.
I know this is going to be more classic Armored Core, but I recently got into Armored Core 6, and I'm like, you know what? I actually love Armored Core. So I wanted to play this.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that now. Do you have any more on yours?
Oh, I got plenty more.
All right, bring it.
But we shouldn't go too long. I don't know.
Let's start rattling through here.
People love it, so we can take as long as we want, I think. Royal Stone on the Game Gear.
First of all, box Game Gear games are my jam. They are so awesome.
They're very good. So this one was a little pricey, but I had to go for it because Royal Stone is quite simply one of the best looking games on the system. Because the Game Gear has a higher color palette
than the Master System.
And is it higher than the Genesis? Oh no, it can display more colors simultaneously than the Genesis.
Yes,
I believe.
Wait, actually no. What I think it is that it has more possible colors.
Okay, that's.
But it can't display more of them at once.
Okay.
I think it might be 32 colors simultaneously. It's 64 for Genesis, but I'm just saying that from memory. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's something like that. Oh,
actually, we do have to leave soon because they're turning off the lights because they close at 10, and it is now 10:15. So, anyway, Royal Stone looks great.
Let me rattle through a few more then.
Yeah, okay.
Super Monkey Ball Deluxe for PS2.
Nice.
It was 500 yen. It sucks, but I wanted it.
Saber Marionette Jade Battle Sabers. It's a 3D fighting game with Saber Marionette characters.
Word.
It's terrible.
I got Jumping Flash 2. It comes with Jumping Flash 1.
Oh, that's great.
Why not?
Chase the Express demo version. Exciting. And Azumanga Daioh Mahjong. Why not?
Yeah, they're selling.
Yeah, they're.
Whoops.
Oh, we could still stay a little longer. They were talking about Last Order, so we're okay.
Seventh Dragon 2020 for PSP.
Yeah.
My buddy Thomas again recommended this to me. I don't know anything about it yet, but I'm going to try it. I like PSP.
Ryoko Kodama did direct it, so so you're in good shape.
I will give it a shot.
I got this Hurricaneger Sentai fighting game because I saw some video about how there's like a hamster mode or something.
I'm sold.
So I just had to do it.
Why not? Okay, I got Blue Dragon for Xbox 360.
Nice.
I already own Blue Dragon, but this was 100 yen, and the cover is beautiful and shiny.
There you go.
That's all it takes.
I got The Cameraman. Which is that series where you control a guy, and you actually control him and walk around, but you also separately control his camera, and you're trying to take pictures of like funny things that are happening.
Wait, is this like that PC Engine game?
It is like that PC Engine game. It is the sequel to that PC Engine game, and I can never remember what it's called, but this one's called The Cameraman.
It's not Toilet Kids, is it? No.
It's not Toilet Kids.
No, not Toilet.
No.
Why did I think that? I forget the name of the PC Engine. I think it had a sequel on PS2, maybe.
Yeah, it may have.
I think it did.
So anyway,
all right, next one is MotoGP 2 from Namco. I like MotoGP, but this is really to fill a hole because I have MotoGP 1 and MotoGP 3 from Namco.
There you go. Yeah,
I didn't have 2, and it was 170 yen. How can I say no?
I got London Seirei Tanteidan. So this is an absolutely gorgeous 2D
look at that.
Adventure RPG-ish thing, and it just looks so good.
It seems to be isometric.
It's isometric.
The British people will love it.
It's got all kinds of blooming effects and things.
Look at that.
You just gotta get it.
I have Street Fighter 3 Third Strike for PlayStation 2. I don't even know why. I just like Third Strike, and I was like, I don't have this on PS2. I may as well get it on PS2.
There you go.
So I did.
I got Tokyo Insect Zoo, which if you've never seen any of the videos for it, please watch it. It's
I've never heard of this.
indescribable. So like a child gets brought into the world of insects, and then I believe
oh my god.
like growing old and getting married to an insect there or something like that. There's just some super weird nonsense that goes on.
This is what I love about the PlayStation era.
Yeah, it's just like, who knows? Who knows? Truly, who knows?
Alright, next up is I got Volume 11 of the Sega Aegis 2500, which is Hokuto no Ken.
Yeah.
It's probably not very good, but I'm also collecting those games, and I have a lot of them, most of them.
I mean, it's a remake of the Mega Drive game that came out in West as Last Battle.
Yeah.
Which isn't good.
No.
But I played it a lot.
Yeah.
because it was available.
It's more just like a library thing, and these early Sega Aegis titles were not the best, but they are interesting.
I got a Bala Burn for PS1, which is a...
Obama Burn?
A Bala Burn. Oh. It is it's a Takara fighting / third-person action game, and it mentions at the top, made by some of the staff that touched the original Toshinden series. And here's an original action game from them.
What is this called again?
It's called A Bala Burn.
I'm actually going to have to write this one down because, there is in the works a Toshinden episode of DF Retro.
Oh, well, there you go.
Toshinden, and that needs to be in there.
Yep, well, get it now because the price is going up on this one, unfortunately. I've been noticing the price on the rise. Quickly, I got Cyber Egg, which is a PlayStation Virtual On-like with egg-shaped robots. And then I have Epica Stellar.
Epica Stella.
Yeah, Epica Stella, right. Epica Stella is a...
I know that name.
It is basically, as far as I can tell, from Human, it is a...
strategy RPG?
It's a strategy RPG.
Is this the one that was called Vanguard Bandits in America?
Oh, was it Vanguard Bandits?
I think it was brought over by Working Designs.
Because it's...
Maybe.
I bought it for super cheap just because it looked like such a Shining Force 3 attempt on the PS1.
Also, Human Entertainment is awesome. They made
Human's great.
Barry-Arm on Mega CD, which is amazing.
Everyone loves Barry-Arm. AKA what? Robo...
No, it's not Robo Lester.
It's not Robo Lester, but it's Robo something.
Jeez, I forget the name. Yeah, see, we can't even remember the American version. It's something.
Yeah, I have the American version. I can't remember.
Android Assault. It's Android
Assault. Yeah, that's the Robo I was thinking of.
I'm out of games.
Yeah, I guess to end it, I'll just show one of my last ones here.
All right, pull it out of the stack.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
This is a promo item for Space Channel 5.
Okay.
And it has the Dreamcast logo on the back.
It looks beautiful.
And I think it's just a couple of songs. I haven't actually opened it up to look inside. But it's got a big Ulala face. It's got that Y2K graphicisms. And, my friend Yumiko Miyabe worked on this game, so I just kind of felt like I had to get it. And also it says left in big letters. Left!
Yeah, with an exclamation point at the end.
Yeah. Well, that's a good place to stop.
I think so, too.
It was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
We closed down Saizeriya. It's nice to be able to talk about these games with someone who isn't like, what's that?
No. Yes.
Because that's not a commentary about anybody in particular. That is just the general daily life of thinking about this kind of stuff all the time, and nobody else is thinking about this kind of stuff all the time.
Exactly.
So it's been fun. It's nice to...
Thanks for having me.
It is a rare thing to be able to just show an incredibly obscure game and then be able to riff on it with nobody researching.
Yes, there was no research happening today.
No research whatsoever, which could have hurt us a little bit in certain points. But anyway,
it was good fun.
Thanks for this. It's been fun. I've been Brandon Sheffield.
I have been John Linneman.
And maybe this is going to be its own podcast. Who knows? Bye forever.
Welcome back to me.
This is the last insert credit Gaiden I have planned for a while, so I'd love to hear what you thought of this experiment. Let me know on forums.insertcredit.com or some other way if you can manage to find it. We've also got one more treat for you. With it being the holiday season, I've gotten permission from Kurt Feldman to use one of his Christmas tracks in its entirety. For those who don't know, Kurt has a band called the Ice Choir, and back in 2014, he released a two-sided single called Pure Holiday, with all the proceeds going to Coalition for the Homeless. So to keep up with the holiday festivities, here's It's Different Now by the Ice Choir. Have a good holiday or solstice or just a nice time hanging out in your room by yourself, even if you're a Grinch like me. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you next year.
Insert Credit Gaiden is a production of Insert Credit. This episode featured Brandon Sheffield and John Linneman, an intro by Alex Jaffe, and the track It's Different Now by Ice Choir off the album Pure Holiday, edited by me, Esper Quinn, with original music by Kurt Feldman. Thanks for listening, and happy holidays!